Barry Loser and the Case of the Crumpled Carton. Produced and directed by Jim Smith. Worst name ever. My mom and dad are so busy looking after my brand new baby brother, Desmond Loser II, I sometimes wonder if they know I'll even exist. Like the other day, when my granny Harumpadunk and her boyfriend Mr. Hodgepodge came round to visit. My mom's favorite show, Detective Minksniff, was on TV, and LD snuggled up to her on the comfy sofa, using her belly as a pillow. Granny Harumpadunk and Mr. Hodgepodge were squid-ged on the uncomfy sofa, squinting through their matching glasses at the TV. "Ooh, now there's a good-looking man," warbled my granny as Detective Minksniff stirred his cocktail with a straw, and Mr. Hodgepodge rolled his eyes. "SHHH. Shushed my mum. "I'm trying to enjoy my show," she said, and I sniggled at her loserness, even though I was secretly quite enjoying it too. "WAHHH," screamed my dad from the downstairs bathroom, where he was changing Desmond Loser II's nappy for the 19th time that morning. Desmond's weed in my face again. I heard my mum's belly do a gurgle and imagined myself curled up inside it, the same size as my annoying little brother. "What was like when I was a baby, Mum?" I said. "I'm coming, Desmond," cried my mum, completely ignoring my question, and she leaped off the sofa, wobbling down the hallway to help. "Desmond," murmured Mr. Hodgepodge, as if he'd only just heard it for the first time. "What a terrific name for a little boy," he smiled, and I wondered why everyone in my whole entire life had to have such loserish names, me included. Desmond Loser I would have been proud, beamed Granny Harumpadunk, heaving herself off the uncomfy sofa and doddering over to the mantelpiece, and she lifted up a photo of my great-uncle Desmond, who was the Rokarth biggest loser that ever lived. She put the picture back on the mantelpiece and picked up a little pig made out of china. "Do you think your mum wants this, Barry?" she said, and I shrugged, not listening at all, because Detective Minksniff had finished and my favorite TV show, Future Rat Boy, was on next. Maureen, "Do you want this pig or can I sell it at the jumble sale?" screeched Granny Harumpadunk down the hallway to my mum, and I blew off into my sofa cushion out of shock. That's all Granny Harumpadunk's been doing recently, collecting stuff for her boring old jumble sale, which is in Mogden Hall on Saturday from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. with a live magic show by the great Hodgepodge and his glamorous assistant, Madame Harumpadunk, at 1 p.m. sharp. "Sell it. She's got millions of them," whispered my dad, tiptoeing into the lounge with Desmond Loser II asleep on his shoulder. "Barry, turn that TV down," he mouthed, and I was just about to press the mute button on the remote control, seeing as it was only the adverts, when I saw a carton of Tears of Granny Laughter pop up on the screen. Tears of Granny Laughter. "Salute the keelness," shouted, leaping off the sofa and doing a quadruple reverse salute, which is what I do when my favorite advert comes on TV. Tears of Granny Laughter is this cool new drink they've started selling at Fico's supermarkets. It comes in 3 granny flavors, Beryl, Irene and Gertrude, and the advert is all about how they make it. It starts with Beryl, Irene and Gertrude queuing up to go into a cinema. Then you see them laughing at a man in an old black and white film who's hanging off a building with his legs waggling everywhere. The 3 grannies are all wearing massive 3D glasses that have been specially made to catch the tears of laughter zigzagging out of their eyes, and at the end of the film all the tear juice is poured into cartons of Tears of Granny Laughter. "Can I have some money for a Tears of Granny Laughter, Dad?" "Can I, Daddy Puss?" "Can I?" said, running over and tugging my dad on his elbow, and Desmond Loser II opened his eyes and started screaming. My mum wobbled back into the room, swinging a see-through plastic bag full of Desmond's poo. "Shush, Barry," she whisper-shouted, stroking Desmond Loser II's cheek. "You're upsetting baby Des." Granny Harumpadunk slipped the china pig into her handbag and shuffled over to look at the baby. "Ooh, you're the loveliest thing since sliced bread, aren't you?" she cooed, and I wondered what was so amazing about sliced bread. Squeaked in my bobbiest voice ever, seeing as that's what she seems to like so much these days. Dad said I could have some money for a tears of granny laughter. Tears of granny laughter, murmured my mum, as if she'd heard the name somewhere before. Isn't that terrible new drink Ficos have been making out of little old ladies? It's not real, that's just the advert. I groaned, because everyone knows Ficos doesn't use actual granny tears to make tears of granny laughter. But my mom wasn't listening. I'm not having you drinking that stuff, Barry, she said, taking Desmond off my dad and peering into his eyes the way I'll peer into my cuddly future rat boyess. I clenched my fists and felt a tear of Barry annoyance start to work its way out of my eye hole. But everyone at school drinks it, wailed, which wasn't completely true. Only Anton Mildew in my class had tried tears of granny laughter so far. Anton Mildew is the editor of our school newspaper, the Daily Pooh. Ever since he said that tears of granny laughter was even tastier than Frankel, all LVE wanted to do is drink a carton. Please. I whined, but not in an annoying, whiny way. Quiet, Barry, said my mom, without even looking at me. I stuck my tongue out at Desmond and was just about to storm up to my bedroom when Mr. Hodgepodge heaved himself off the sofa and plodded over to where I was standing. He was wearing his sparkly bow tie, which he thinks makes him look like a magician. What's that in your ear, Barry? He grinned, reaching out his shaky hand, and a 50p coin appeared between his fingers. You go enjoy your bottle of Grandma Pop, he winked, dropping the 50p in my palm, and I slid it into my pocket before my mom and dad could see. Not that they were looking. Because they were too busy staring at Desmond Loser II. Detective Manksniff's straw. It was the next day and I was skateboarding down the road to catch up with my best friends, Bunky and Nancy. Morn keels, Barry, said Bunky, as Elle skidded to a stop, trying to work out why he reminded me of Detective Manksniff all of a sudden. Looked him up and down and scratched my bum. It's not your voice, I said, thinking back to when Bunky had just said good morning to me. Detective Manksniff's voice is all deep and drawly. Yours sounds like a little old granny dog's yap, I smiled. Bunky scrunched his face up, not really knowing what in the keelness was going on about. It's not your hat either, mumbled. Detective Manksniff wears a keel detective hat, and you don't wear a hat at all, said, flicking Bunky's hair at the front, where it sticks up like a hand. Nancy sighed, half bored, half wondering if LD gone stark raving bonkers. T definitely isn't your smile, I frowned, poking my nose right up to Bunky's face. Asterisk when Detective Manksniff smiles, you know he knows something you don't know, I said. When you smile, you know you don't know anything at all. Bunky bonked me on the nose and I made a noise like a car horn. Thanks a lot, Barry, he said, chewing on a straw. My eyebrows did a waggle. It's that straw, I said, pointing at the straw, which was white with keel little pink tear shapes dotted all over it. Whenever Detective Manksniff's trying to solve one of his really hard mysteries, he pulls the straw out of his cocktail and starts chewing on it, I warbled. That's what's making you look like him. Bunky smiled his smile he smiles when he doesn't really care about what I'm saying. Then he pointed the straw at me and blew. OWAH. I screamed, as the tiniest rolled-up ball of paper in the whole wide world amen shot out of the straw and hit me on the ear lobe. I snatched the straw off Bunky and shapped it in half, which isn't easy, seeing as straws are bendy, not snappy. Bunky smiled, not in the keelest bit bother him about me Tapa, his stom he said, pointing at a poster for tears of granny laughter right next to where we'd stopped. UUV tried it? I gasped, suddenly realizing where he'd got the straw from. Eve Keels, smiled Bunky, which is how we've started saying of course, by the way. My sister bought me a carton of Gertrude flavor last night, he said, and I wished I had an older sister who bought me cartons of tears of granny laughter like Bunky, instead of a baby brother who stole my mom and dad. Well, what's it taste like? Bunky warbled, leaning against Nancy so Elle didn't fall over out of jealousy. All right, I suppose. Not as nice as Frankel, he said, and he started waggling his legs around like the man in the Tears of Granny Laughter advert. That reminds me, Elle haven't weeded out yet. He giggled. My ears couldn't believe themselves. How could a drink made out of old Granny's tears not be the tastiest thing in the whole wide world? Amen. What are you, nuts? Said, which is what Detective Manksniff says when his ears can't believe themselves. Tears of Granny Laughter is the keyless thing since future rat boy. Nancy rolled her eyes, picking up Bunky's snapped-in-half straw and putting it in a bin. A lot of people don't like those adverts, you know, she said, as 3 real-life grannies doddered past just like Beryl, Irene and Gertrude, except without the special glasses. Boo, naughty drink, shouted the first granny, waggling her walking stick at the poster, and the second one shook her fist in the air. Ban Tears of Granny Laughter, croaked Granny number 3 as they wobbled off at 2 centimeters per hour. See, smiled Nancy, and a shiver went down my spine. What if they did ban my favorite drink before Elle even got to taste it? Since Desmond Loser II had come along and stolen my mom and dad off me, slurping on a carton of Tears of Granny Laughter was the only thing I had to live for. As if they'd banned the keyless drinks and sliced keelness. I said, not realizing what was about to happen next. Mayor Plunkett. Out of the way, Loseroids, this is an emergence WE, screamed Bunky as we got to the school gates, and he zoomed across the playground towards the toilets. Nancy chuckled to herself and picked up a copy of the Daily Pooh from the stack next to the gates. You might want to read this, Barry, she said, suddenly not chuckling at all, so I picked one up too. Tears of Granny Laughter banned, read my eyeballs, not believing themselves. This must be a joke. I stuttered, and I went to lean on Nancy, but she'd walked off so Elle fell on the floor instead. Enjoy your trip, Barold, sneered Gordon smugly from my class, who's the sort of smug, ugly Gordon who's only happy when someone else like me is unhappy. It wasn't a trip, Gordon, it was a fall, I cried, and he chuckled to himself like one of the baddies in an episode of Detective Manksniff, except less scary. Yes, well, dreadful news about Tears of Granny Laughter, isn't it? He drawled, and I squinted my eyes, wondering what he was up to. Hope you get yourself a carton before they all sell out, he smiled, jangling a handful of coins inside his pocket. From the sound of Gordon's jangle, he could afford to buy every carton in Mogden. And that's exactly the sort of thing he'd do, just to ruin my life. Better get down to Fico's Sharpish after school, Barold, he snort-led, gliding off on his tiptoes, and looked around for someone a bit less Gordonish to talk to. Anton Mildew was slumped on a bench, tears of Anton's sadness zigzagging down his cheeks. It's the worst day of my life, he wailed, and crawled towards him, seeing as I was still lying on the floor from my fallover from before, and getting up is boring. It's all Mayor Plunkett's fault, shuffled as she said the Tears of Granny Laughter adverts were cruel to grannies and ordered Fico's to stop selling it immediately. Good riddance to it, that's what I say, burped Darren Darrenofsky, slurping on a can of Frankel, which is his favorite drink since sliced Darren. Tears of Granny Laughter is for losers, he chuckled. Anton crumpled his Daily Pooh into a ball and threw it at Darren's head, just as Sharonella from our class stomped over, doing her angry face. Sharonella's been in a bad mood with Anton ever since he did a front-page exclusive in the Daily Pooh saying she might be the Phantom Air Freshener thief. The Phantom Air Freshener thief is this mysterious person who's been going round all the toilets in Mogden School stealing the plug-in air fresheners. Thanks a lot for saying was the Phantom Air Freshener thief, Anton, screeched Sharonella. As if I'd want to steal a stupid air freshener, she scoffed, her perfume wafting up my nostrils. I'll get you back for this, Mildew, she screeched, stomping off again just as Bunky bounded over, zipping up his flies. What in the unkeelness is going on here? He yapped, and I realized he hadn't heard the news. Get ready to not believe your ears, I said, and I started to tell him everything that had just happened, which was pretty boring for everyone else, seeing as they already knew. Cardboard cutout Irene. After that had to sit through a whole day at school, while all the ficos in Mogden were selling out of tears of granny laughter. Then it was home time, apart from the fact wasn't he going home. Where in the unkeelness are we going? Shouted Bunky, speed walking behind me as Elle skateboarded through the gates, towards Mogden High Street. Nancy was running behind him, her hair swishing like a cat's tail. Ficos, of course, panted. To get some tears of granny laughter before Gordon buys them all. I carried on skateboarding for another 3 3/3 of a minute until we got to Ficos. The doors whooshed open and zigzagged down the aisles, straight to the soft drink section. I skidded to a stop next to a cardboard cutout of Irene from the Tears of Granny Laughter advert and grinned my grin when I'm about to buy a carton of the keyless drink ever. Then I spotted Gordon smugly. Ficos Mike. Afternoon, burled, drawled Gordon, reaching out to grab a Tears of Granny Laughter, and I gasped. I was gasping because the shelf was completely empty apart from that carton. Oh dear, what a shame. None for little Burled, he smiled, grabbing the carton and holding it up like he was in an advert for Tears of Granny Laughter. The carton was Barrel flavor, which everyone knows is the tastiest Tears of Granny Laughter flavor, seeing as Barrel is the least ugly out of the 3 grannies in the advert. And Oz wailed, just as a skinny man in a Ficos uniform popped his head around the dial. Hello, my name's Mike. Let me see if can find you another carton of Tears of Granny Laughter today. Chuckled the man, whose name tag said Mike, plus he just said his name was Mike, so suppose his name was Mike. Mike pulled a screen out of his back pocket and started tapping on it with his finger. Okie dokie, sold out there, he mumbled, checking all the Ficos in Mogden to see if they had any cartons left. Nope, he frowned, and then his frown turned upside down and he looked up, the way a Mike looks up when he's found a Ficos with some Tears of Granny Laughters in it. 2 cartons left in Ficos Funsize, he grinned, as Gordon glided off towards the till. Dog we sofa. Where are we going now? Shouted Nancy, as I zigzagged back down the aisles and out the whooshing doors towards Ficos Funsize, which is where the last 2 cartons in the whole of Mogden were. Ficos Funsize is the Kiel Mini Ficos on Mogden Common, the bit of grass where everyone goes to let their dogs do poos. We've got to get to Mogden Common before Gordon. I cried, turning right and zooming down an alleyway. Follow me, I know a shortcut. At the end was a brick wall with an old sofa slumped in front of it, soaking wet from rain and dog wee. It's a dead end, shouted Nancy, running up next to me with Bunky, and I turned my head and smiled, feeling like future rat boy. Watch this. I grinned, aiming my skateboard at a plank of wood that was leaning against the sofa like a ramp. Yippee kill kayay, screamed, as I fast-forwarded up it and shot into the air. Crunk, bent my nose, donking straight into the brick wall, and I flomped onto the sofa. Dime doke, I said, clambering up the soggy cushions and over the wall, then crashing into a bush growing next to a dog poo bin. Wee-hee! Cried Bunky, plomping down next to the bush on a nice soft bit of grass with flowers growing out of it, and wondered why it always worked out so well for everyone else but me. Then I heard a thud. Talking to myself out loud. Aarrgggghhhil, screamed Nancy, who was lying by the wall, holding her leg. My ankle! I think it's broken. Bunky leaped up and ran over to her as I scrambled out of the bush and jumped on my skateboard, pushing off towards Ficos Funsize. What are you lot doing here? Said a fam-like-heel's voice out of nowhere, and I spotted Anton Mildew speed-walking past us towards the mini supermarket. Why is Anton speed-walking towards Ficos Funsize? Mumbled to myself, scratching my head. Aha! I boomed, working it out. He must be after the last Tears of Granny Laughters too. Now I've got Gordon and Anton to deal with. I said. I don't know why I was talking out loud to myself so much, by the way. Not so fast, Mildew blurted, zooming past him through the whooshing doors and into Fico's funsize. The only problem was, LD never actually been inside Fico's funsize before. Beryl and Irene. I zigzagged down the aisles, darting my eyes around for tears of granny laughter. Nope, 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 muttered, reminding myself of Fico's mic, until spotted a familiar-looking granny. Facing me at the end of the aisle stood a cardboard cutout of Gertrude, the ugliest of all the tears of granny laughter grannies. Oh my keelness, are you a sight for sore eyes? I said, darting towards Gertrude, the last 2 cartons of tears of granny laughter sitting on the shelf next to her. One of the cartons was Beryl flavor, which everyone knows is the tastiest, and the other was Renee, which everyone knows isn't. I reached my hand up for the barrel and it bumped against another, non-berryish hand. Not so fast, loser, warbled Anton Mildew. Hand scrabbles. That's not fair, I got here first. Shouted, scrabbling Anton's hand away from the carton of barrel-flavored tears of granny laughter. Anton's hand scrabbled back, knocking the Irene flavor carton off the shelf, and caught it. Fine with me. Smiled Anton, lifting up the barrel carton. Just then Nancy limped round the corner, using Bunky as a walking stick. Thanks for all your help, Barry, she groaned, giving me an evil stare, and did my face do and haven't got time to say sorry. Anton stole my carton of barrel. I whined, in a whiny kind of way. What, this one? Said Bunky, snatching it out of his hand. Hey, that's not fair, screamed Anton, and Bunky snatched the Irene one out of my hand too, just to make it fair. Bunky looked at me and smiled his stupid smile. Now what, Barry? He said, and right there on the spot I came up with one of my brilliant and amazing ideas. The magic coin. Reached my hand into my pocket and pulled out the magic 50p. Let's flip my coin for the barrel carton. I said, tossing it in the air. Heads or tails, Anton? Ooh, I can't decide, warbled Anton, as the coin shimmered in midair. Tails, he shouted, as it landed in my palm. I peered into my hand and felt my nose droop. Tails it is, smiled Nancy. Bunky passed Anton his carton of barrel. Oh well, at least LV got a tears of granny laughter, said, opening my hand to grab my carton of Renee, and my magic 50p slipped out of my palm, bounced along the floor and rolled underneath the shelf. Wah! My coin! I screamed, dropping to my knees and scrabbling about underneath the shelves. Bunky, Nancy, help me look, cried, as Gordon Smugly's shoes appeared in front of my eyes. 10 seconds. We meet again, burbled, burped Gordon's smug, ugly voice as carried on scrabbling around for my coin. His burp drifted down towards my nostrils, smelling of the barrel carton he'd bought earlier. Ooh, look what we have here, the very last carton of tears of granny laughter, he said, staring at the one in Bunky's hand and peeling a non-magic 50p out of his pocket. I stopped scrabbling for 2 milliseconds and peered up at Gordon's face. Please don't take my tears of granny laughter, Gordon, I begged. It's all LV got to live for, *. Gordon smiled his smile he smiles when he's enjoying watching someone scrabble around on the floor. T'll give you 10, Sakur chuckled. Better get scrabbling, loser, he said, and he started counting down from 10. 10. I heard, as I slotted my hand back underneath the shelf and started scrabbling it around. 9. He boomed, and felt something small and round and metal. Got it, shouted, pulling out a IP. I'll let you have a sip of my barrel carton for IP, chuckled Anton, at the same time as Gordon was shouting 8. Where in the unkeelness is it? Sighed to myself, and my sigh blew a ball of dust the size of a bogey along the floor. The dust bogey rolled along, stopping when it bumped into a familiar-looking shape. My 50p, gasped, stretching my fingers out as far as they could go. C can't, quite, reach. I stuttered, not quite reaching it. I breathed out, flumping against the floor like one of Desmond's empty nappy bags. For, shouted Gordon, and thought of my mom and dad at home, peering into baby Dessa's eyes. I breathed in again, and tried to come up with another one of my Brillikiel and Amazapuz ideas. By the power of keelness!